Hi, glad you could join us. I'm Annette Sherman. This is Community. I'm thinking back. It was a little over a year, about, I don't know how long ago. I guess that's a little over a year ago, that there was a national search to replace the CEO, Terry Hansen, of the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And they went through all these people in the search and so forth, and they looked around and they said, wait a minute, we've got the best guy right here. And he's been here, and he knows everything, and he knows where everything is and people are. And so they decided that Mark Pritchard, who was the senior vice president for community development, that he should be the president and CEO. And what a good decision that was. Gulf Coast Community Foundation is, in case you didn't know, among the nation's wealthiest foundations. And they now have received more than, I think, I'm trying to read, they're $53 million. Is that what it says?
Well, we're around 275 to 80 million.
I've been corrected. I said corrected, about 275 to 80 million dollars. I've got to be more respectful to you, Mark.
That's all right. No.
I mean, you're charming and you're adorable and you're bright and everything, but now I know you're wealthy.
Well, it's not my money. I wish it was.
I know it's not, but you govern it, and it's a very important position.
Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it is a very important position, and you do it magnificently, but we'll talk about you when you're not here.
All right. All right.
Anyway, the foundation has grown more in this past time since Mark has been there than they have ever. This is the largest sum of money, largest amount of money that the foundation has had to distribute, and you're doing a beautiful job. Well, here, let me get the information that I have. The foundation is dealing with all sorts of wonderful human services, health, civic, economic development, and on and on and on, culture and environment. And you can find out all about what they're doing, and I'm going to give you a website before we leave the air, and you just in your quiet times, just hit those keys and get their website and read all about the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Veronica Brady. Now, usually when someone is as beautiful as Veronica, they're stupid. No, they're not. I mean, they could be. They're thought of. Veronica, they think of very pretty women as being not terribly bright. You've broken that mold.
Thank you.
And she's not only bright, she's competent, she's pleasant, and she's a very lovely person to know. And she's been a friend of mine for many, many years. And her position is Senior Vice President for Philanthropy with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what you do and a little bit about your background in a little while. Rick Gregoria. Rick is president. Now, he's not with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, but he has a connection, and that's why he's here today. He's the president of Williams Parker Law Firm. Now, that is not just another law firm. It is an extraordinary law firm. With, I think all the lawyers in it have been chosen best lawyer in the country or the best lawyer in this vicinity. They're all a bunch of really excellent lawyers. And one of those lawyers, not only Rick Gregoria, and I'll tell you about Rick in just a moment, but Charles Dan Bailey is one of our Community Video Archive, you can't see it from where you are, honorees for 2017. And just an extraordinary man. But everybody connected with your firm.
Thank you, Annette. We call Dan the ambassador of Sarasota. He's a guy that's made a huge impact in our community. So thank you for honoring him.
Okay, wonderful, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that if we have time as we get finished. But Rick Gregoria, now when I saw his name and Veronica sent me the information, and I said, Gregoria, I know that name. Years ago, we used to do a yearly program with all the beautiful young debutantes who were going to be part of the debutante ball, and some of their escorts would accompany them. And we had wonderful time with them. And there were two beautiful girls, not both at the same time.
No, that's correct. They were different years, 2009 and 2010.
We had them on the program, and their name was?
Well, in 2009 was my daughter Chelsea, and in 2010 was Ashley.
But these girls are not only beautiful and charming, but they're extremely intelligent and very achieving in their academic situation. So we're proud to have those girls because they are such a wonderful example of what the youth today can be. And
Well, thank you
just
very
lovely.
much.
And where are they now?
Ashley actually ended up graduating with an accounting and a finance degree. She works for a company called Accenture in Washington, D.C., and she'll actually be joining us for the holidays. And Chelsea just finished another degree, her advanced BSRN. She also has a degree in family child life specialist. She was working with autistic children. Now will be looking to work in the pediatric area with disabled children as well.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
That's been her lifelong dream. She's always wanted to do this. She said, I want to make a difference in the world.
She is doing just that. You mentioned holidays, which reminded me because when our Mark Pritchard, when I was going to use you by your title, but I'd rather just refer to your Mark.
Please.
As Mark came in and Veronica was teasing him about his socks, and I looked down. Maybe the camera can get a shot of his socks because we're taping this program just before Christmas. And so, those
Happy
are his
socks.
Christmas socks. That's about the only reference we're going to make to Christmas. We're going to get on with the show. All right. While
I
we
was
have
jealous.
Your,
They're
while we
quite
have
nice.
Your, while we have your socks on, Mark, I think we're going to move up a little bit and talk to your handsome face. I want to find out just a little bit because we want to get to reason that you're all here today. A little bit about your background and experience, just a bit.
Absolutely. And thanks again for having us, Annette. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I've been at Gulf Coast Community Foundation for 8 years, but just in the last a little over a year in my new position. I moved to Sarasota in 2008 from Tallahassee, Florida, where I had been working for Enterprise Florida and the Florida Chamber of Commerce, and then a place called the Collins Center. Prior to that, I came from Lexington, Kentucky, had a great career there at the University of Kentucky, and before that, early in my life, lived in Colorado, in the Colorado Springs area. So lived in 3 states, and I'm just happy to be here in Sarasota.
I must add to that, when I met Mark, and it was Veronica that thought it was, I didn't really like him if I met him. She was wrong. I adore him. Because it isn't so much that he is adorable, although he is, but his thinking, the way he thinks and what he wants to do and the way he goes about it is really superb. And not only will he garner a great deal of money for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, which will enable, but I think the people working with him will enjoy working with him. He's got that kind of mind and that kind of personality. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Annette. And we have a great team at Gulf Coast, too. We're real privileged to have people like Veronica working with us.
Well, we're going to get to Veronica because Veronica is important. And, okay, I want to find out, capsulize for me, Veronica, your background and experience.
So I joined Gulf Coast 6 years ago after a 25-year career with SunTrust, primarily in the wealth management area. I was a graduate of Venice High School and then the University of Florida and came back to Sarasota and was active in the community and had an opportunity to come work for Gulf Coast and never looked back. It's been a wonderful, wonderful past 6 years.
And we're glad to have you. And we're glad to have you with this team who work together because you're both superb people. Rick Gregario, as I said, we've met before. We haven't, but I've met your daughters.
Yes.
And I want to find out about okay, let me move back. The law firm that you are president of there was a little squib in the newspaper that this publication called Requisite was offered free of charge, no cost to ship it to you, none of the above. Just make the telephone call, and the number was there in the newspaper, and it would be sent to you. And what it would talk about. I think Rick is more qualified to tell you that, but it mentioned that. So I thought, well, this must be an advertisement of some sort. But I knew the company, I knew the law firm, because as I think I mentioned, one of our honorees is with that law firm, and it's quite a prestigious law firm in town. Okay, so I call up and I give them the number and I forget about it. Within a week or so, this arrives, and it is fascinating. It's a fascinating, well, I'm going to ask Rick. Tell us about Requisite.
Okay. Well, Requisite's an interesting publication. It had its genesis, our firm's from 1925 and has long history of roots in the community, of always trying to give back to the community. One of the things we found is our clients and others in the community were tired of just getting what I'll call advertising materials that were coming across their desks, really not that helpful for topics. And so we polled our clients and said, what are areas of interest that you may find helpful? So we decided to create the Requisite, which the Requisite for us was to be a scholarly publication that is written in layman's terms, addresses issues that are important today and important to this community, but that give insight to our citizens here, free of charge. We also, dovetailing with the Requisite, various forums that we hold. We just had a not-for-profit forum, also free of charge to the community. So these are really about educating the community, making certain that they know opportunities available for them to help the community, and just various questions that they may have. So we have this as a regular publication. Typically, it'll be 3 to 4 times a year.
Okay. In this, they talk about the Baranchiks. All right, now.
That's correct.
Okay, I want to bump over back again to Veronica and Mark, and for this too, because the way what the Baranchiks are doing now, in cooperation with the person who you replaced. All right, tell about that.
You want to start?
Sure, I'll start, and then Veronica and Rick chime in, please, anytime. One of the feature articles in the Requisite is a brief summary about Charles and Marjorie Barancik. They're originally from Chicago, a wonderful family, very philanthropic, that had been coming to Sarasota for many years. And they wanted to establish a private foundation. And they established one, and it's actually benefiting, fortunately for us, the Sarasota region.
I'm going to stop you for a minute, and I'm going to put in parenthesis, private foundation. Just cut in for a second,
Okay.
Veronica. The difference between, for people who just need a brief understanding, a private foundation as opposed to a community foundation such as Gulf Coast.
Okay, I'll put it in as simple a term as I can. A foundation is a collection of donor funds. In the case of a private foundation, it is generally the charitable gifts of one family or one company who has a specific purpose. It may be a broad purpose, but their specific interests that they want to see fulfilled with that philanthropy. In a public foundation, it is a collection of many gifts in, and the public foundation has an obligation to actually go out and bring more gifts in to maintain its status as a public charity. There's a tax difference in terms of the benefits you get between giving into your private foundation versus your public foundation. But that's really sort of the difference.
Okay, I think that cleared it up. What I want to do before I forget, because I just got a cue that we don't have all that much time to cover. We're going to go back to you, Mark, in just a second.
Sure.
But would you, Damon or Joe, would you put on the screen the website for Gulf Coast Community Foundation, because they're going to want to get in touch with Gulf Coast, and with the Baranchik, is it called?
The Williams Parker firm.
Williams Parker firm.
Yeah,
Williams
Williams
Parker.
Parker.
If they would like a copy of the Requisite.
The what?
If they'd like a copy of the Requisite, we'll have our
Oh, they
website
wanted a
up.
copy for the Requisite, and in that, we'll give you all the information about the Baranchiks and so forth, and the private foundation is in here. Okay, you can get a copy of this, no cost at all. Just call the number that is on this. What is the number? Say it again for us.
The number is 366-4800, and also you can go ahead and look at the website, which should be up on the screen.
Okay. Very easy. I usually, when we have a telephone number and a website, I usually urge you to deal with the website for 2 reasons. number will be just during office hours. So that means if you're past office hours or before office hours, you're not going to get through. Whereas the website, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, you say, I want to get that book and find out what Annette was talking about. All right, you could just go to your computer and deal with the website, which is really very easy here. It's williamsparker.com.
WilliamsParker.com, and actually it's on there digitally, so if you want to read it at night, you're more than welcome to do so online.
Okay, you heard that. Okay, requisite. We're going to talk more about requisite. Where were we, Mark?
Well, one of the things that we want to highlight that I think is really important for your viewers this time of year is we're in the holiday season and we're also in the pre-tax season. And what we're finding is people are making their financial plans for next year and they're starting to give gifts, donations to charity, and also trying to maximize their tax deductions. And one of the things that we do at Gulf Coast this time of year is Veronica and her team do a wonderful job of working with our donors to make sure they're making the right decisions about their gifting. And so, Veronica, would you like to add to that?
It's just a wonderful opportunity for people to assess where they are tax-wise, if getting a tax deduction is important to them. Also, just to think about the needs that they care about in our community and beyond and make their gift in.
This is important, and it isn't only for the holiday season, but that's kind of the impetus. And you've got people here that are wonderful. There's no charge. There's no rushing you through it. It's patience and understanding, and they want to be helpful. You can call the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. You remember the number offhand?
Yes, 486-4600.
486-4600, and that's the Gulf Coast Foundation.
And Annette, I'm going to go ahead and add too, this is a particularly interesting year to go ahead and make donations. The GOP blueprint is looking at changing taxes considerably. A charitable donation today may be much more valuable because the rates are likely higher this year, and there's a lot of opportunities. For instance, gifting of an IRA, people have required minimum distributions, and there's a change in the law that allows you to make that gift as long as it goes directly to the charity, to the Gulf Coast. You can do so, and it is 100% excluded from income. In the past, it had been a charitable deduction, and if you itemized, you may lose it. Now you just exclude it from income, so it's a really, really wonderful opportunity.
Forgive me for saying this, but this is said with affection and with my heart. That came from a lawyer.
Yes. I think the message is give. We really have a lot of needs in this community, and this is a wonderful time to do so.
No, there's no question about it, Rick, that what you just said is applicable and true. So, and it's costless. It doesn't cost you anything. And you're talking to this very lovely, very capable, and very knowledgeable lady, and anyone that's working at Gulf Coast. I think you've got a great staff there, not only beautiful Veronica, but all of your people. You must have gone through, given them the litmus test and said, okay, you'll do, and something like that. And we haven't got time in this program, but we are going to continue having Gulf Coast Community Foundation on. So I want to get back to these wonderful things that you're doing and the wonderful things that you are creating at Gulf Coast for our community. So I thank you for our community, and keep on keeping on, dear,
thank you.
dear Mark.
Thank you,
Okay,
Annette.
and Veronica, the same thing,
Thank you.
and Greg, the same thing. I wanted to remind them that, how much time do we have? It's not very much.
Annette,
Yes.
one thing that I think is really important, we mentioned that Chuck Baranczyk was
Yes,
featured
yes,
in
yes.
this. And they do wonderful things in this community. And Rick's worked with them on a personal basis.
Yes.
And I think you might have some pictures of.
I do. I have pictures, and that's what I wanted to remember, but
Yeah.
I went off on another tangent.
That's all right.
I thought we had less time than that, but we have enough time. Let's see those pictures that you have. What do we see there, Veronica?
So one of the things that we've been able to do is partner on initiatives. And you see Chuck and Margie standing with some teachers and students as part of our STEM initiative, which transformed the middle school math and science classrooms all throughout Sarasota County. And again, that's a perfect example of where a private foundation partners with a community foundation.
Okay, and the other picture?
The other picture,
There it is.
one of an initiative brought to us by our friends Keith and Linda Monda is Reading Recovery, where we work one-on-one with students, with specially trained teachers, first grade students, to get them up to grade level reading. And so we had a day where Margie Brancic was reading with a student. Very fun.
And we talked about Terry Hansen, or at least referred to Terry Hansen earlier, and she is went to head the Barancic private charity.
Correct.
It's not a
Private
charity,
foundation.
Private foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's continuing. She's just reaching out for her old
Absolutely.
buddies, and you've been working with her, which is wonderful. Okay.
And Annette, I was going to add too, the private partnership with a private foundation and public has become something really very vogue today. That you basically can exponentially magnify your good that you're doing in the community. They have a great deal of expertise. The private foundation can work with them in providing some of the funds, bringing an idea, a vision. They can go ahead and actually help make it a reality. And so I'm very much encouraging people with private foundations to consider working with Gulf Coast and doing those types of projects, because I think the impact is really exponential for our community.
Well, I think you can strengthen each other, the private foundation and the public
You
foundation.
very much do, and you learn from each other, and we're finding that the more that we are partnering, it's just a wonderful thing.
I feel strongly that the Sarasota, the general public, needs more connection and information about these foundations, particularly a foundation like Gulf Coast. There's so much that they can gain, and there's so much that they can learn about their finances and what to do with them and what not to do with them, and advice and direction to go in. And it's really all part of your job.
Part of our job.
Absolutely. We're really fortunate to have, as donors and actually volunteers, people that want to pay it forward. They've been very successful in their lives, and so they want to make the world a better place and Sarasota a better place. And so sometimes they do it through their philanthropy, sometimes they do it through volunteering with a local nonprofit. And our role there is to make sure that they get the right match for their philanthropic interests. They want to pay it forward.
I promise you, and listen to what you have to say in just a moment, I promise you that you will find the people, to a person at Gulf Coast Community Foundation, extraordinarily helpful, extraordinarily learned in their work and know what they're talking about, and beneficial. And you'll get finished with the experience and say, oh, why did I wait so long? Make the phone call. Number is?
486-4600.
486-4600.
And Ned, I can echo
Yes.
that on a personal basis, what you said. That's very true. The other thing that's really nice about the partnerships between private and public with Gulf Coast, a lot of times when people set up private foundations, they don't fully appreciate how much work it takes to run a foundation. A lot of technical issues, and frankly, a lot of times the lawyers and the CPAs make money. There's a way you can go ahead and avoid that and actually put your dollars more to charitable use. They have a group that you can work with them. They'll help you actually meet the requirements for your foundation. They'll help guide you instead of having to pay legal fees, instead of having to pay accounting fees. And frankly, we'd rather the money go back to the charitable cause than to our law firm. So I would encourage people to go ahead and that have private foundations to talk to them and help them administer those foundations.
I think it's quite obvious to me why Gulf Coast Community Foundation receives the accolades that they do in our community and has the reputation that they do, because of people like the two representatives here. And it's obvious to me why your law firm, Williams Parker, has had the wonderful, wonderful kind of recognition that they deserve. And being the best lawyer here and the best lawyer there, and for years and years, so that it's kind of exciting when you're talking to the people who are the best, because they're the best.
Thank you very much. You're very kind.
Rick does a wonderful job. We often are asked if someone wants to start a private foundation. We provide them a list of attorneys, but Rick is always on that list, and his firm is, because of the professional service they provide.
Well, Thank you. Thank you. And we've got an accumulation of lawyers there now. We have about 15 of us that are JD, CPA, LLMs. So we have one of the strongest tax groups actually in the state of Florida. So we do quite a bit of work in this arena, and it's something that we love partnering with each other and really trying to make somebody's charitable visions come true. It's a very fulfilling thing.
The words renowned and prestigious, what you'd use before you say Williams-Barker. And it's true. It's true. A bunch of terrific people who are very, very experienced and very wise. In fact, we've selected one of them, Charles Dan Bailey, who's a sixth generation Floridian, and he's won countless awards up to now for all of his community service. I can go on and on telling you about Dan Bailey, but I think the fact is that you can learn all about him, or as much as possible, if you would like to get our CVA newsletter. In the newsletter, we talk about our upcoming Hall of Fame luncheon. It's our only event once a year, and we choose extraordinary people to be part of our Hall of Fame. What happens when they're chosen is that we contract with, and they're just marvelous, the best that I know of in this community, videographers and producers who produce their video biography. And we have produced in the last 28 years, almost 28 years, about 160 of the biographies and so many other wonderful documentaries about our community. What our goal is and what our mission is to create a living history of our community in this period. We would like you to join us on April the 25th for the only event we have during the year, and that is our Hall of Fame luncheon, at which Charles Dan Bailey will be inducted, along with Guy Peterson. Guy Peterson is an architect who has won 90 awards in his 36-year career. Ian Webb, who heads up our Sarasota Ballet, and the delightful and wonderful Judge Lee Hayworth. We're out of time, and I'm sorry it went so quickly. You guys got to come back again. You got to come back again soon. I hope so, because we may be all booked for this season. We'll get you next season. Greg, nice meeting you in person. Say hi to the girls and tell them.
I will. Thank you very much for having us.
If they have extra pictures, to send me a picture.
I will do so. They would love to. They had a wonderful experience being here with you. Thank you.
We're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annette.
Bye-bye for now.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show. It's a mover and shakers who care show.